Hello and welcome back to the third and final part of the conversion from JavaScript to TypeScript. In this lesson we're just going to fix up a couple of errors that have been thrown up by the type checker to do with nulls, and then we'll be able to run the application. So the error is actually occurring in both click button and banner, and we can see that in both cases the destructuring is failing. The root cause of that is in both cases we're trying to destructure from value, and value has got a type counter context value or null, depending on whether a use context succeeded or failed. So the correct way to deal with this is to put a type guard around it, so I can say if value is not equal to null. And a shorthand way of saying that is I can just say if not value, this basically means value will be false or undefined or null, any sort of illegal value. This will trigger, and I'll say throw an error and some sort of message. We'll deal with the message a little later. And that will fix the problem. So by the time it gets down to this line of code, it knows that value must be of type counter context value since we've ruled out null, and therefore the destructuring can go ahead successfully. And exactly the same solution can be supplied here. We can just add in a type guard and the error condition disappears. Now we could just leave it like this, but what's generally done is you add a helper function into the context, so you don't have to keep doing these tests. And that would typically be, well, let me show you. I'll create a helper function. I'll just paste it in. So over here we are. Maybe just make this a bit bigger. I'll move banner over there for the time being. Okay, so it's now calling use context, which is needs importing. Let's just take care of that first. Okay, so I've got a brand new helper function called use counter. So what it does is it calls use context with counter context. If you look up here, this is exactly the same line of code as we had in banner. Const value equals use context counter context. And again, it says if not value, then throw an error. And this time it's providing a slightly more suitable error message. It's saying that use counter should be used within the counter provider, so we're not using the context out of scope. And then finally it just returns the value provided everything worked correctly. Now the return type of use counter we can see is counter context value. The way it did that is it started off by knowing that value was either context value or null. It then ruled out the null, so it knew here that it must be of type counter context value, so it's implied correctly the return type from the function. And this is really what we want. So if I can now come over here, I can replace all this code with value equals use counter, like this. I can get rid of this. And all I have to do, I can get rid of these imports. And I'll import use counter from the context instead. I've clearly got to export it, and I no longer need to export the actual context. That's sort of hidden now. Instead, this is the way into the context, just use counter. And we find this is a very elegant solution where an error will be thrown if something goes wrong. But by the time we get here, value will clearly be of the right type. And now all I need to do, I'll move banner over there, and I'll copy the code into click button. Value equals use counter, or replace these two lines here. And we have a nice solution. So that's all the errors taken care of in our code, and we can now go ahead and type check it. So let's just check that everything's working correctly. If you remember in our package.json, we have this type check which runs a compiler. So I'll say npm run type check. One other element. So let's just go and attend to that. the main.tsx is complaining that this could potentially be a null for the same sort of reasons that getElementById may fail if I provide a load of rubbish here. So all I need to do is to provide a type guard for this. I've copied something in to save me typing it. I'm testing whether root element div is, if it's false, then it'll throw an error. Otherwise, if it's true, it's safe to call this function. So with that, we should be good to go. Let's type checker another once more. Great, that's working now. And I should be able to do npm run dev. And the application will pop up and works. If we look in the console, no errors here. And I can also do, I'll shut that down, npm run build. Let's give it just a slightly more window space. And we can see that seems to have fine. There are no errors there. And npm run preview. And pop that up. Make this a bit small now. Click me. And again, that's working. And there are no errors in the console window. So we've completed our conversion to TypeScript and it's error-free. And we're ready to continue. So I will see you in the next lesson.